my melodies, my life is for your glory. All I have, all I am, my life is for your glory. My songs, my melodies, my life is for your glory. All I have, all I have, all I am, my life is for your glory. My songs, my melodies, my life, my all is for your glory. Take it all, take it all, take it all, take it all, take it all for your glory. Take it all, take my heart and my will. I surrender to you. Take it all, take my heart, take my will, take it all, take it all. I surrender for your glory. Take it all, take my heart, take my will, take it all for your glory. I am yours, I belong to you. I am yours, I'm for your glory. I am yours, I belong to you. I'm for your glory. The life that I live is not my own. I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me, gave himself for me. I was made for your glory. I was made for your worship, made for your pleasure, made for loving you. Every breath that I take, every day that I live is for your glory. It's for your glory. Take it all, take it all.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody. It's another exciting day for Empowerment Hour with me, Gilbert Samba. You all are welcome to another exciting edition today. Today, we have a very, very crucial subject of conversation. We have a man of God. We have a great vessel of the Lord that the Lord is using in Cameroon in many ways. And today it's just another page that is opening in his life again. And we want to discuss on that. Because of the tight nature of our schedule tonight, I want to encourage everyone to do well to share this live stream right now. Share it on your status, share it on your WhatsApp groups. Let's get everybody come on board. Come with your questions. For the limited time we have today, we're going to try to take as much as we can. But right away, without further ado, we have our guest in the house already. Apostle Dr. Ambe Valentine. Good evening, man of God. I'm good to have you today on Empowerment Hour.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. This is the second time I'm coming on Empowerment Hour, and I can say it's a very interesting program. I'm honored to be here tonight. Greetings to the millions of viewers who are following this live streaming right now across the globe.
Thank you so much. You are right. We have them coming in from all over. So right away, let's go straight into getting a little intro of who you are again. There's a bunch of people watching today that will be their first time. Let's get to know you more. This time around, we are listening with a different ear because there's something different in the atmosphere. So let's get to know who is Apostle Dr. Ambe Valentine.
Yeah, Apostle Dr. Ambe Valentine is the 9th child out of 11 children from late Mr. Peter Ngwa and late Angelina Ngum. And the young man standing here is an orphan for many years now, who schooled in government primary school Mutengene, attended government secondary school Bojonga for O-levels, went to PCHS Mancon for A-levels, and got a degree in public administration from Kaduna Polytechnic in Nigeria, and a master's and a PhD in political science from the Christian University College of Liberia, and other studies, a degree in theology from this seminary in California. So a lot of things have been put together. He's a father, he's a husband, beg your pardon, married to Reverend Angwa, and a father to 4 kids: Fortune, Rejoice, The Great, and Perez. He's a general overseer of the Living Water Project Tabernacle, Cameroon, with branches in the nation. He's a CEO of El Gibo International Business Ventures. He is the proprietor of Kingdom Pattern Bilingual Nigerian Primary School, and he is the African ambassador for Global African Leadership Chapter. He also serves as the Director of Arbitration at the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Ghana, and he has been doing talks across the globe with the Parliamentary Intelligence Security Forum from UK, Manila, Philippines, France, and recently we shall be in Madrid at the House of Senate, invited by the President of the Spanish Senate to present on the African affairs. That's a brief account of what I can give now. If I want to start giving the rest of the pedigree, it will take us much of time.
Amen. Wow, that's quite a heavy. Yes.
Not forgetting that I'm the president of Cameroon Pentecostal Movement, a movement that brings Christian professionals all around the nation to see how we can empower the church spiritually, economically, socially, and otherwise.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a big and a heavy resume right there. Big stuff that you have. And we are glad to have you today. Thank you for taking out the time. Thank you to your family for letting you get this time with us today. Let's talk about the big thing that is going on, the presidential elections in Cameroon. You have just made known your candidacy, and the fact that you're running for this election, declaring your state of interest a few days ago. Let's start with what made you interested. What made you want to run for the presidential post in Cameroon?
Yeah, unlike other religious fanatics who want to bring God's voice in every single thing, I am not that kind of leader who want to drag the voice of God even when God is not speaking. My intentions to declare my candidacy for the presidential election in Cameroon came as a need. I saw a need, so I'm taking the lead. That's the description of an excellent leader. You see a need, you take a lead. As somebody who has been on the political landscape in this nation for many years, and those of you who have been following me, I have been on television discussing the challenges this nation has. I have been on air trying to bring out economic, political, infrastructural, technological, health, and educational solutions to the problem of Cameroon. And for many years now, a lot of persons have been calling on me, oh, why don't you come up and stand for elections? I keep telling them that I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. The burden came lately when I started agitating for a coalition with the political parties in our nation, because I know of a surety we need a coalition for a regime change in this nation. But we realized that the political leaders were so self-centered and were not interested in bringing themselves together to work for the betterment of the people. And I came to realize also that there's a certain level of following I've built that sometimes even stronger than the conventional political party leaders in the country. So my primary objective coming up to declare my candidacy is because the efforts made so far to bring coalition among the opposition leaders failed on every front. So I think declaring my candidacy at this level will make them understand that there is a need for us to come together as a joint force. And that is the reason why I saw this need as I should take the lead. Besides, I've understood Cameroon's problem for a very long time. And if you follow my videos on social media, you will realize that I've been addressing cultural issues, economic issues, infrastructural issues, political issues, which I have a 12 principles on my manifesto to see how I can shape the economy of Cameroon. I want to first of all pay respect to all our fathers who helped to build this nation. We are not coming to build a nation, we are coming to reform the nation. The likes of Ernest Wandi, Nyobe, Felix Roland Mumi, Andre Marin Bida, Amadou Ahijo, even President Paul Biya, who has contributed immensely for the growth of our nation, Cameroon. I think we are trying to inject a new energy, just like an app cannot last for long. The app must be updated. Cameroon happens to be that app that has overrun its usage. We have to update the app to make sure it gets better features. The architecture, when these guys came to power, it's not the architecture we have right now. The structures, when they came to power, is not the structure we have right now. We are coming as a generation of young men to inject new energy into the economy so we can revamp the broken walls and also restore the pride and dignity of our nation, Cameroon. So I saw a need, so that's why I'm taking the lead, because leaders see needs and then they take the lead.
Wow. Thank you so much. Why that may seem like singing the praises of the current president, because I don't want us, we will get deeper into that, but seems as if from what you're saying right now, you seem to see nothing wrong with the current state of affairs. You just see that they have been limited. Are you seeing things in the light of a change? You're not talking of a change, you're talking of a reformation. Reformation means building on what has already been built. Exactly. Do you think that's a state in which the average Cameroonian sees themselves? Or do you think the average Cameroonian thinks there is a total rebranding and a total rebuilding, a fresh start that needs to take place in Cameroon?
You see, real politics doesn't create enemies, it only creates rivals.
Okay.
And when you're struggling to sabotage the effort of others, rivalry is trying to do better than what they have done. And that's the reason why in Cameroon we don't practice politics. We do bigotry, hatred, bitterness, malice. But true politics is to do rivalry. In other words, you are coming to do better than what somebody has done. And if you have to do better than them, you have to appreciate what they have done so far. That politics you come to insult everything somebody has done is not politics. Because I believe that before you came, the principles those guys applied also helped to sustain the economy for the time that you came to see it. If they were not working before you came, then the economy would have collapsed. So I'm trying to inject a new approach to politics in Cameroon, because I think we have to chart a new course. We are not out to fight political opponents. We are not out to kill them, because we have turned politics in Cameroon to be war. We've turned it to be witchcraft. We've turned it to be bigotry. We've turned it to be hatred and malice. But I think that politics should be one manifesto conquering the other manifesto, not somebody looking for a gun to kill the other partner. One ideology conquering the other ideology. I think in a classroom, when somebody takes first and the other person works hard to take first the next time, is rivalry, is not enmity. So I think the political landscape of Cameroon has to change from enemies to rivals. We have to start beating ideologies than beating people. We have to start beating structures by beating people. We have to start beating principles by killing people. We have to start injecting new ideas better than what is existing. So I will not come to insult those who have worked so far, because at least their effort has brought us to where we are. But I think what they have done is not sufficient enough to make the country become what we wish it should be. So insulting what they do is not politics. That's the reason why I'm coming with a totally different approach, because the normal Cameroonian political leader will want to come and insult the ruling party, insult the opposition, and make a caricature of them, failing to understand that you are also being sustained right now because these parties also and individuals worked the economy to be where it is today. It might not be the best, it might not be the better, but at least it's good. So you are coming to make it become better or become the best. And that's not a means of you fighting other persons or trying to make a caricature of what they have done. That's politics. That's what I believe in politics. And if we approach politics in that perspective, it will be very difficult for us to be killing each other. That's why people are killed in politics. They are destroyed. It has given the youth a kind of phobia about politics because they believe if you step into it, you are going to die. But somebody has to come to change the narrative. I have to come to make them understand that as much as these guys are not doing their best, at least they have done something. We are coming
They've
right
done
now
something
better. That's politics.
Yeah. Yes, Apostle Dr. Ambe right there. If you're coming to do something that is already in the right track, why don't you just inject your energy in the current political party, in the current regime? What is the need for you to come in as a neutral and a completely different person? If they are on the right track and you're coming to build on top, why don't you just add your efforts to the current regime? That may be the point of view.
No, I'm not saying they're on the right track. Don't get me wrong. I have said what they have done so far, it isn't bad. But you see, their good is not good enough to transform the nation. Their knowledge has come to a position where the people cannot get the fullness of the resources of their country. And I cannot join them if I have to change the things that they're already doing. I'm trying to take the economy to a different dimension. I'm trying to give the political landscape a different face. I have my ideologies, I have my philosophies, and they do not tie with what these guys have done. But I cannot insult someone's ideology because it's not my ideology. I can't make a caricature of somebody's idea because it's not my idea. I will not fight and disdain somebody because the person does not think the way I think. I think what we should be doing right now is to convince people to accept what we have to offer than to keep on insulting what has been done so far. And if at all your ideas are better, the persons who are already working will see the need to even align with you because they think that something is coming that is better off than theirs. So the idea of coming to insult somebody who's already working makes no sense. For instance, another journalist can host this program. If he comes and begin to make a rubbish or caricature of you and insult you, the person automatically has lost his value. Because I think so far, if you want to do something better, appreciate the man that laid the foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally agree with that. Agree with that. Wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. We want to recognize and appreciate everyone that is joining from across the world. Powerful conversations going on right here. Do well to share this with everyone so we all can be blessed by this wonderful time we are sharing. Man of God, there is a thought and a very common, ideology out there, which people think that men of God, servants of God, like you are, should stay aloof from politics and everything that has to do with political affiliation. Why do you think you're on the right track as a man of God getting involved into politics?
I think scriptures interpret scriptures, not emotions and feelings and sentiments. And you can't build a doctrine from a single scripture according to theology. Theology, that when something appears twice, thrice, 4 times, you can build a doctrine on it. You can't build a doctrine on a single scripture. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, we have seen people who are servants of God called prophets got engaged into practical politics. I think it is the Jefferson's principle, Thomas Jefferson, the American president, that came to separate the church from secular politics. Thomas Jefferson is not Genesis, it's not Leviticus, it's not Numbers, it's not Deuteronomy, it's not First Corinthians. Jefferson as an individual, we have taken the ideology of people and turned it to become scriptures. Can a Christian who is watching this program tell me where the society or the scriptures separates men of God from entering the politics? Let me start from the Old Testament.
Man of God, let me come. Sorry to interject you there. What about the situation where the disciples were trying to get Jesus to involve into what seemed like a political situation? Will you at this time restore the kingdom of Israel? And Jesus said, that's not something I'm here for. I'm completely out of this whole ecosystem of the Jewish political ecosystem. I'm here for a kingdom mandate. Wouldn't that be an example of staying aloof from political happenings and focusing on kingdom?
What is a kingdom? That's the definition. The kingdom is a structure. It's an administration. It's a principle that is operating in heaven but has its bearing here on earth. So when we talk about kingdom, we are talking about a typology of what is in the UK. And the kingdom is what is in the UK is absolute politics. There is a king that runs the nation. There is a prime minister who is the head of the government, and he liaises with the king. There is a parliament that runs the activities of the nation, and there are political parties that contest for that in the nation. Jesus happens to be that king that we are worshiping, who manages the affairs of the parliament of the earth, servants of God, who runs the administration, servants of God. You are a royal priesthood. You are not just longer a priest. There's royalty in you. Royalty stands for governance. Royalty stands for administration. Royalty stands for principles. Royalty stands for structures. Royalty stands for leadership. Royalty stands for economic management. Royalty stands for political decisions. So in the New Testament, a Christian has dual responsibility. In the Old Testament, you were either a priest after the order of Aaron, or you were a king after the order of David. And when God realized that the priests in the Old Testament were poor people and had no inheritance, they remained in the temple, God changed the order in the New Testament. He blended in one man the king on one side and the priest on the other side. And who is a priest? A priest is an intercessor. He that divides the word of God. He that is consecrated for the service of God. Resident in that same priest is a mantle of a king. So the New Testament priest does not wear a collar. He has a crown on his head because he's a royal priesthood. What is kingship? Kingship is leadership. Kingship is administration. Kingship is structure. So there's a possibility for Apostle Ambe to be a priest on Sunday and is running an office on Monday as a king. Because you don't understand this ministry in the New Testament, we are confusing. I told you the last time we have three powers in the scriptures. Number one, thou shalt remember the Lord thy God. It is him that giveth this power to make wealth. There is a power to make wealth. They didn't tell us if it is priests or pastors or evangelists. They say they give us power to make wealth. Number two, I give you authority to trample upon serpents and scorpions and over all the powers of the enemy, and nothing shall by enemies hurt you. That's authority over demonic spirits. The third, Romans 13, it says all power is of God. The military man does not carry the gun for nothing, for he is a minister of God. There's what minister? There is a minister of God. There's a minister of defense. There's a minister of agriculture. There's a minister of education.
Education.
Of health. So when we say minister, we have reduced the word minister to preachers. The word minister is a servant. So where, in which capacity are you serving? Was David not a king? Didn't he go to the temple and collected the shewbread after eating it, and he ate it as a priest and nothing happened to him? Blended in David's ministry. He ran the administration of Israel, yet he was a king he was a priest that ate the shewbread in the temple. Blended in him. So how do you explain that? That's why I tell people that we have insufficient knowledge in the scriptures. That's why we think we are limited when it comes to the issue of running the affairs of the nation.
Wow, powerful, powerful. I love that, man of God. I love that. Let me catch up some comments here. Reverend Innocent says, those who think that politics is not for Christians should not forget that we are given a domain, and you cannot claim dominion without a domain, which is political. Awesome, awesome. All right, we will try to catch those comments as they go in. Thank you so much, man of God, for clearing the air on that aspect right. Thing that was not a divine instruction from God. I want to be sure on that. It was not the Lord himself who said, hey, Apostle Alfred, my servant, get into this position. And if that is the case, are you not worried as a servant of God that you did not hear expressly from your master, your creator, that you should take this task?
You and I know, evangelists, that Christians don't hear God in everything they do. Why must we hear God in everything we do? Do you hear God to brush your teeth? Do you hear God to wear your dress? Do you hear God to get up in the morning and go to the farm? Do you hear God to go to work? Why do we lay emphasis on hearing God to carry out certain things? There are things that we have to think to do. They say, as a man thinketh, so he is. unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we may ask or think, not the one that we hear. Why is a place of thinking taken out of the church to the place only of the voice of God? God has given us an opportunity to think and to hear him. So when he doesn't speak, we think. The stagnation in the body of Christ is that when God gave us our mind to think so that he can rest, we are wanting him to speak. Unto him that is able to do exceedingly above all we may ask or think. So when he is not speaking, you should be thinking. It's not in every case you must hear God. It is religious fanatics who believe that you must go on a mountain to hear God before you accept certain responsibilities. So why do we keep saying that he must hear God? They want me to say I hear God, and then very soon when things don't work out well, they will say he said you heard God. But I didn't hear God. God gave me time to think so that he can rest. The place of thinking in the church has been erased. And that's the reason why Christians are stagnated, because when God is waiting for them to think, they are waiting for God to speak. God doesn't speak anytime. God has given us a mind to reason. God has given us a mind to rationally think. Are you telling me that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego heard God before they decided to stop from bowing to the graven image? They said, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us, even if he does not deliver us. That statement tells you that they heard nothing from God to withstand the idol. Yes. Daniel was told not to pray, and he faced Jerusalem and prayed 3 times a day. He didn't hear God not to disobey. They threw him in the lion's den. God sometimes will respond to your thoughts. God gave us brain so that God himself can rest. He gave us brain so that himself can rest. You can't sit in your house and there are ants everywhere eating, and you are waiting for God to speak to you to spray the ants. You can't be in your house, cockroaches are eating your dresses, and you are waiting for God to speak so that you can clear up the cockroaches. The ills taking place in the economy of Cameroon is enough worry for any reasonable Cameroonian to see the need and take the lead. The challenges we are facing from the level of the church, from the economy, from the political scene, from the cultural perspective, infrastructural, when the roads are bad, they are not bad for unbelievers alone. They are bad for believers. You don't need to hear God to arrange the roads in Cameroon. When the water is polluted, it's not only polluted to unbelievers, it's polluted to believers also. When they are increasing the taxes of commodities, it's not increasing only on unbelievers, it's increasing on believers also. So do you need to hear God to fight against overtax? Do you need to hear God to fight against bad roads? Do you need to hear God to fight against water pollution? Do you need to hear God to fight against the ills of the society? That is the problem we have today with the church. The church is waiting for God to speak while circumstances are drowning us every day. Those unbelievers running for the elections, who did they hear from? Why do we want to spiritualize everything? Why do we want to become fanatics, as they call us, in almost everything? I'm asking, because the question is right now in Cameroon, the roads are very bad. And when I drive, I see those roads, my life is in danger. The roads are bad that I can have an accident. So God should tell me, my son, arise and go and stop the road. The road is enough concern. When we get up and clean our neighborhood, it is because we are trying to scare away all kinds of reptiles. That's security. Did you need to hear God? You don't need to hear God to clear up the environment. If mosquitoes are in your house biting your body, do you need to hear God to spray? You don't need to hear God to spray insecticide. I came to Douala. My children were sick every week. We kept praying for them, anointing them with oil, buying them drugs. They got well. And then suddenly it occurred to me that, hey, but why don't you buy a tent? When I started buying tents and we were sleeping on that tent, we didn't pray again. Everything, every drug that God has provided through medicine is a miracle to that sickness.
Yeah.
I can't be praying for headache when there's paracetamol. The miracle for that sickness was provided through drug.
So, okay. Love that.
We have a problem. We have a problem with the church using their mind. Those guys who are creating planes, did they hear from God? The guys who are making cars, did they hear from God? The guys who are making sheep, did they hear from God? So I want to become a president of Cameroon, I have to hear from God. Did God speak to you expressly? God will never speak. You will sit there and the economy will drown you. I think the worries around you should be enough for you to get up and say, no, this thing has to stop.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Love that, man of God. Let's catch up on a few comments. I might have gotten myself in trouble here by starting to read those comments, but I see there's a question here. We're going to come to which political party or how do Cameroonians vote for you and all of that. We're coming to that. Apollo, please hold on that. We're coming. That Pastor Truth Nyowike says we should think Jesus's blood. We shouldn't think Jesus' blood washed away our sins, not our brains. Jesus' blood washed away our sins, not our brains. Just confirming to what you said right there, our brains are still intact. Reverend John Sama says, I always believe that as concerning this particular issue, we need to follow God's guidance because he is an issue of a nation. It is an issue of a nation. You don't just get up and lead a country like you get up to brush your teeth. You want to comment on that?
Yes, I'll have to comment on that. The question we have to be asking here right now is, if all those who led nations in scriptures were told by God, Esther got married to a king who didn't know God. But your present day church will tell you don't marry out of the faith. And that marriage was orchestrated by God to bring deliverance to the Jews.
For a purpose, yes. It was for a purpose.
For a purpose. Samson was to go and get married to a Philistine woman. And God said, Bible says God had programmed that marriage to bring deliverance to the Jews. Did he hear God? The question we have today is, people are very fanatical to the extent that they believe that every single thing you have to do, you have to hear God. Ruling a nation by brushing my teeth, I have been on the ground for 5 years. I have studied the Cameroonian terrain and I've given serious analysis on this nation. Probably a person who is speaking doesn't seem to know me, because if he knows me very well, I have been on ground. So it's not getting up from somewhere and brushing my teeth. It's an ambition I've been nursing for a very long time. And I think this is the right time to launch.
Yeah. All right. Powerful. And I think you said right there clearly that sometimes I think what I get from that is that sometimes God doesn't speak audibly, even in situations, in circumstances. That's his voice. He speaks just by what you see on ground, and you can respond to that. Like you said, clearly you saw a need and you're taking the lead. All right. Let's make progress here. I have a big concern here, which is also another big concern that has been viewed and aired by many people, is the aspect of leadership, the aspect of stepping into political corridors of power. And many people in the past have been very promising, very, reliable. And then the moment they got into those places, they became a different person. The office changed them to somebody else instead of them changing the office like you're promising to us. And I want to read a quote to you here from John Emery, who said, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. What makes you think you would not become another man when you get into that seat at the Unity Palace?"
God doesn't raise people to certain environments and certain opportunities if he has not dealt with them at the background. People have also received power in different areas and become corrupted. We have general superintendents of churches in our nation and other nations who are corrupted. If at all power in the religious cycle could not corrupt people, we would have known that the religious cycle will not corrupt. But we have seen people who are superintendents of churches, they are the worst human beings. Immediately they entered into that office, they became something. There's a difference between a person and an office. The office may be big, but the person in his principles may be different. And there are also persons who have not attained the height of a president in the country. They are also corrupted. I want to ask you, evangelists, the pastors who are giving congregations, who go to seek for black power, what corrupted them? The pastors who sleep with members in their congregation, the ones who take black magic to do ministry, what corrupted them? Was it politics? The ones who use sacrifices in their churches to kill people, was it politics that corrupted them? They have coined a statement that politics is a dirty game. There is no place on earth that is not dirty. The economic sector is dirty. Political sector is dirty. Religious sector is dirty. There are pastors who are homosexuals. What corrupted them? Is it politics that corrupted them? There are people who are traditional rulers. They are corrupted. Is it politics that corrupted them? Right in the church there, we see pastors impregnating girls and committing abortion. What corrupted those people? Because we are trying to brand every corruption, defilement, and all kinds of absurdity to politics. What happens to the religious cycle where general superintendents siphon monies from organizations, they impregnate ladies and abort those babies? Some even consult black powers to be elected as chairmen of certain committees in church. Some also want to become moderators. They come for elections with magical powers. The question we are asking, were those people in politics? Were they in politics? People are in football. They do all kinds of rubbish. Some are in music. They do all kinds of rubbish. Others are into banking. They do all kinds of rubbish. In almost every field in the world, people are polluted. You heard the story of Diddy in America there. Was he in politics? Is that not music? Let them tell me any area in the world that is 100% clean because the people are not in politics. It has to do. We've also had people who are in those offices and they are very decent. So the fact that a thing is branded wrongly doesn't mean that everyone that enters there is going to be bad. For instance, everybody says CPDM. CPDM is a party, and everyone that goes there is given that bad name. But there are good persons in CPDM. Some will say SDM is corrupted. Yes, that's a name for everyone under CPDM. There is what called the fallacy of generalization. The fact that few Nigerians go and commit a crime in Dubai, and Dubai sanctions all Nigerians, doesn't mean that all Nigerians are criminal. It's called the fallacy of generalization. The fact that a few politicians are corrupt and polluted doesn't mean that every politician is corrupted and polluted. That's the fallacy of generalization. There are presidents on earth here who have grown in the fear of God. They drove their nation towards the worship of God. These particular leaders are in the political domain. We have kings in scriptures. When they came to power, they destroyed the works of Satan, erected the altar of God, restored the worship of God in their nation. Why were they not corrupted? That's an individual also. We have references of countries who have come back and dedicated their country to God. Zambia was dedicated to God by Pascal Chiluba, who came to power because he was a Christian. Donald Trump is taking prayer back to all the places in America and trying to restore dignity and to restore worship houses. That is the place of power. The president of the South African parliament was a born again when the law of lesbianism and gay was instituted in South Africa. This was because he was alone, because numbers count. If at all a majority of the parliament was more of Christians, that law would not have passed. Legislations are carried out by witches and wizards and people from all kinds of cults, and dirty things are instituted in our society, polluting our children. Pastors' children turn out to be homosexuals because those laws are permitted in certain communities. The more we are in number in those places, the better the laws to govern the society. Let's not go and pick a few persons who have messed up in the political domain. What about the president of Uruguay or Paraguay, who chose to live a low life in a farmhouse and decided to give all his money to charity? Why did that office not corrupt him? That's what we are asking. So how can we take a few persons who have messed up in a particular field and want to brand everybody to be in that field? That's why some people said, oh, don't you know they killed a prophet the last time? So because Fuema Vivian died in a football field, nobody should play football again. Because Fuema died in a field, we should not play football again. Because a driver had an accident, we shouldn't drive cars again. Because a pilot crashed an aircraft, we shouldn't fly again. Why do we always take examples to negative things? Why can't we mention the presidents that God has used in particular to restore dignity and pride? In Malawi, we have Lazarus Chakwera. He was the general superintendent of Assemblies of God. He happens to be the president. Who is a politician? Politics is a T-junction where professionals meet and select a leader. There's nobody, there's no person on earth as a politician. When they gathered in Nigeria, they picked a man called Buhari, he's a military man. They gathered in Liberia, they picked a man called Joshua, he's a footballer. They gathered in Ukraine, they picked a man called Zelensky, he's a comedian. All these guys who call politicians, they gathered in Malawi, they picked a pastor and made him the leader. They went to Madagascar, they picked a businessman, Andrea Jolina. These guys were professionals in different fields. So who is actually a politician? Politicians are those same people you call doctors, accountants, engineers, pilots, comedians. So why not a pastor?
All right. Powerful. I like that. So I think from what I hear, you're falling back to conclude on, to really fall back on the question which was posed to you. You started by saying that you have been tried, you've been tested, you've gone through. Is that what stands to be your confidence that when I get up there? Because we want to come back to that aspect. We've had all these wonderful, numerous people, but now let's talk about you. What is your assurance? What is your confidence that as we call it, the Unity Palace will not corrupt you?
I have had a lot of opportunities to be corrupted by now. You know, people sometimes just sit and look at us on screens and they make conclusions. We have had several opportunities to be corrupted by now, which, if at all we're that desperate, we will not even need presidential office to make our marks. So the presidential office is not the first office that can corrupt me. I have gone through several paths that I would have been corrupted and even initiated into dirty things. But my stand has always been there. These guys called Daniel lived in the heart of corruption and pollution in Babylon. But the Bible said they refused to defy themselves. Do we look at them as role models? Joseph was given an opportunity to sleep with Potiphar's wife. A man that cannot control his penis cannot manage power. The corruption did not start today. It started ere long. They will give you women, they will give you money, they will give you fame, and see how it can influence you. If those things can corrupt you on the way, then you have no future. I am one man who doesn't have the opportunity to stand to the public and explain the things I've gone through in this nation in terms of corruption. I've not succumbed to. I have projects here which are not yet finished because I didn't succumb to certain demands. I travel out of the country. I meet very high-ranking top officials. I'm telling you, but it has not touched me. Is it possible for Daniel to stay in Babylon and still not be defied by the king's meat? Is it possible for Pharaoh, for Joseph to stay in Egypt and refuse to pollute himself? Is it possible for Moses to live in the house of Pharaoh, yet get up and challenge Pharaoh? Is it possible for Esther to stay in the palace of Artaxerxes, yet still consecrated to conquer the laws of the land? Is it possible for Nehemiah to sit under the king, yet still go back and build the broken walls of Jerusalem? Is it possible for David to stay in the palace of Saul and still be consecrated? Is it possible? The challenging aspect is that none of these guys served under believing kings. But their integrity was not touched. These guys were head over witches and wizards. The power of God is not you falling in the church and getting up. We keep falling and we are getting up with more demons. God actually demonstrated his power by using someone to challenge the deities of their day. In the days of Goliath, God had to raise David to confront him. In the days of Nebuchadnezzar, God raised Daniel, Shadrach, and Abednego. In the days of Pharaoh, God raised Moses. In the days of Ahasuerus, God raised Esther. Artaxerxes, God raised Nehemiah. Why would God cause these guys to be raised in the days of these giant kings that rule the world? Because God can only demonstrate his power through man.
Wow. Powerful. My goodness.
For your information, evangelists, let me say this clear to all Christians. The devil's interest is not on the little things we do around in church. Satan had a throne, And he yearns to go beyond his throne to sit at God's throne. Look at his ambition. His ambition was too high. So if they cast Satan on earth, he will not fall in a market where you are selling tomato. He will fall at the palace. He will fall at the Senate. He will fall at the parliament. He will fall at the mayor. If you want to see real devils, dare the presidency, dare the Senate, because Satan lives on thrones. He doesn't live in your market where you are selling potatoes and you say the devil attack my potatoes. The devil is too busy to be fighting potatoes in market. So he's this.
Wow.
Look at his ambition. So if you want to really find Satan on earth here, go to where there are thrones. That's why you can cast out devils in church. The day you attempt to become a mayor, that's why you will see the real demon. The day you attempt to become parliamentarian, you will see the real demon. The day you try to be a senator, because the devil dwells in thrones. He dwells on. So his ambition on earth is on thrones. What we do around here, making noise, that someone came and was selling vegetable. I saw 6 bundles and 4 bundles came back home. Satan is attacking me. Satan can be in the market attacking vegetables. His ambition.
All right, man of God.
His ambition is too high to follow some of the things we tag him to. That's it.
Amen to that. I got you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And with that said, someone can push that further to say what you just said right there is a clear indication that probably you haven't tasted the powers that are waiting you ahead. You haven't been to the Unity Palace. You haven't been at that corridor where Satan dwells. So what then would you guarantee them that when I get there, even though I've not been there, when I get there, even though the powers are higher, I will be able to overcome? And let's really settle on this, because many are afraid of this element that people can be great, but when they get there, they become something else. So you haven't been in those corridors where Satan is on those thrones. How would you deal with him when you get there?
Satan has the same principle. It's just a level that changes. The same principle he applies. It's just a level that changes. What he will test me at the 2D is with women, which he has been doing. He will test me there with fame. He will test me there with fame, which he has been doing. He will test me there with money. Those are the 3 F's: fame, female, and finance. These 3 F's are Satan's most potent weapons against everybody. If these things can't work at this level, the same keys I used to conquer at this level, I will use to conquer at all levels. Before you see Jephthah coming to face a war, he fought at the backside. Before David ever came to confront Goliath, he had conquered the lion and the bear. There is nobody that God brings in the public that he has not trained at the background.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Powerful.
Everybody you see God brings for a public fight, he had trained that person at the background before bringing him to the public, because God can't be mocked.
Amen.
That's what
wonderful. All right. All right, man of God. We're going to have to push this further because our time is really fast spent and we have a bunch of questions. You may have to find time to respond to those in the comment section, but we just can't catch up with that. Let's push it further tonight. Before we go on to talk of your vision for Cameroon, that's a big part, your vision and what you have for Cameroon, why Cameroonians should vote for you. That's a very important part. So don't miss out on that. Please keep sharing. Let me ask this really quick question here. You are the general overseer of a church, and we all know that ministry, discipling the flock, taking care of God's sheep needs constant attention. By the time elections come out and you are voted as the president of Cameroon, your full attention will need to be on the affairs of the nation. You have to relocate to Yaoundé to live at the Unity Palace. And you are the general overseer, a founder. What would be the state of your ministry? And is that not something you would have considered to say, let me raise someone within the church and send them into this position by the things I have taught them, and I sit back and take care of the ministry? How would you divide your attention at that time?
Oh, that's very, very good. A very excellent question. I don't think we carry churches from one place to another. It will be easier for me to spread the gospel as a president than as a pastor. Because when a pastor declares national fast, nobody will obey. In Nineveh, it was the king that declared national fast. There are some offices that until you sit there, some principles cannot work. Bishops can't declare national fasting. If a president declares a national fast, it will easily go because the influence of your word is tied to the office you occupy. If I say I will arrest you, it doesn't make sense that when the commissioner says he will arrest you, the office you occupy leverage to handle that. And who says we cannot build a church at the presidency where I pastor on Besides, it's not every day. And there is something we call division of labor. Presidential office is not a responsibility for one man. You have different ministries and different offices carrying. And my modus operandi is not going to be this presidentialist system of government. I'm going to bring a parliamentary democratic system of government where power is in the hand of the prime minister and the parliament. The president is just there to oversee the affairs. So the system of government implement in place can give you enough time to do both the state affair and to run ministry affair.
Sounds like you're already telling us your vision right there and telling us your plans. Unveil that to us tonight. Take some time and tell us what your vision is and what your plan for the nation is. Go ahead.
Yeah, they are not talking to a baby. They are talking to someone who has a knowledge in secular education and also a knowledge in spiritual education. Biblically speaking, David was a king, but I don't think anybody attended church more than him. He says, 7 times do I praise thee because of the righteous judgment. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God than to dwell in the tent of wickedness. Morning, afternoon, evening, I prayed. I was glad when they said we should go to the house of the Lord. Nobody attended church more than King David. But he had the issues of the nation to manage, yet it did not affect his fellowship with God. But there are people who do not even have responsibility as quarter heads, but they will tell you they are busy. Have you not seen brass who came to church very poor? When they bought their first car, they tell you they are busy. Did they become president? Have you not seen sisters who came to church? When they got married, they stopped coming to church. Did they become president? Have you not seen brothers who were poor? When they began a small business and began seeing money, they tell you they don't have time. Did they become president to come to church? To stop coming to church? So the issue is, it is a decision as an individual. Because there are persons, you and I have gone in the Pentecostal cycle, who started coming to church, they had nothing. Immediately they got a little job, they would tell the pastor, work is too much, work is tight, work is difficult, work is this. That tells you that, yes, I've been around church for a very long time. At Temple, I'm a full-time church boy and part-time houseman. It's not that I gave my life to Christ. My heartbeat for God is stronger than my heartbeat for any office on earth. So I think I stand a better chance to spread the gospel in this nation. I stand a better chance to establish more churches. I stand a better chance to revamp the religious cycle in the nation and also to give the place of the church in the society.
Wonderful, wonderful, powerful.
There are legislations in this country that are run by people who know nothing about the church. The church is under associations, and associations are under the Ministry of Territorial Administration. We need a Ministry of Religious Affairs that understand how the church operates. These are opportunities that they need to set up a structure that can regulate the excesses of the church in the nation, especially the Pentecostals. So it's very essential.
That's right.
The system of government we are operating right now makes it look like the president has so much work. The presidential office is not an office of so much work. It's an office of organization and direction. The guys who have to get the job done are the ministers. Habakkuk says, write the vision. That's the director. That's the president. Make it plain. Analyzers. He that reads, promoters. He that reads, read the vision, analyzers. And then those that are wrong with the promoters. There are 4 categories of people in leadership. Write the vision is the director. Make it plain is the analyzer. He that reads, relators. And those that run with it are the promoters. So when I write the vision, I give it to the analyzers. They relate it. Promoters run with it. My own is to write.
That's powerful. Man of
Yeah.
God, we are really pressed on time. Tell us, what vision do you have for Cameroon? That's a good place. Tell us what vision you have for Cameroon and why Cameroonians should stand and rally behind you with more than, I don't even know how many, more than 30 political parties. Why should you be the man? What vision do you have for Cameroon?
First and foremost, Cameroon has serious problems. And first problem is political, constitutional problem. We have to go back to the constitution. The crisis in the northwest and the southwest is a constitutional problem. It's not a military problem. It's not an economic problem. It's not a regional problem. It's not even a financial problem. It's a constitutional and a psychological problem. Why do I say so? This is because traveling the length and breadth of this country, you may be surprised to see that a Bolova, where is the president's own hometown, is not as beautiful as Limbe. It's not as beautiful as Boya. It's not as beautiful as Kumba. You go to the east in Baturi. You go to the north. Those towns are not beautiful. The same problems faced by Southwesterners and Northwesterners are the same infrastructural challenges that all the other regions have. But you see, psychologically, the Englishman believed he was maltreated because his place was displaced in the Constitution in 1979, where the Speaker of the National Assembly, that happens to be St. Muna, who had the right to conduct elections in case of the demise of the president or resignation or incapacitation, was removed and the office of a prime minister was brought. That was when that psychological trauma started. They began feeling like their place was not there, with all other activities coupled together. So what do? We get back to the constitution, create an office of the prime minister, because as a minority, it may be difficult for somebody from the minority to win. But the problem is that most of the times people think that minority is inferiority. Minority is not inferiority. The fact that they are not minor doesn't mean they are inferior. So correct the constitution, create the office of a vice president. In case of the demise of the president or incapacitation, the vice president claims. By so doing, it will be easier for an Anglophone to rise to power without the ballot box. Once that is psychologically speaking, they will now begin to find their place in the economy. Coming to the electoral process, we have to revamp the electoral process because we will create 2 tenures in office of 5 years, and you just go after your 10 years. In case you stay there, there will be a clause that the military will take power for some time before restoring order. That's your tenure in office. Elections will be free. We will scrape out that thing called Senate. It's a means of consuming income for nothing. We will set up House of Chiefs that represent 256 tribes in Cameroon. The top paramount rulers will manage the cultural affairs while the parliament runs political affairs and policies. The power of the head of the government shall be in the hand of the prime minister, who lays alongside with the parliament to engage rules, while the president just sits there and oversees the affairs of the nation. That is a kind of government structure form of the state I want to establish. These are things I've conceived within me for years. And I believe if we engage this, everybody will have his place. And the people will be respected according to their services to the nation. Coming to the economic sector, there is no way a nation can grow without these 2 things: good transport system and excellent power supply. Name all your industrialization, infrastructure, and the rest. If there is no good transport system, a transport structure, and power supply, you cannot do anything. Cameroon is limited to hydroelectricity power, but there are other ways of generating power. You have incinerators, which is being used now by China to generate at least 1.5 megawatts of electricity. Holland uses it. Japan using it. Singapore using it. Incinerators are structures put in place to use rubbish, waste, to produce electrical energy. In other words, it's serving 2 purposes. It has disadvantages. You will not see dirty things in the streets. All our dirt will be used to produce electrical energy, thereby keeping the cities very clean. Road transport, farm to market roads, as well as auto routes to facilitate movement within the CEMAC zone. We don't need to do business with Europeans. Nigeria has a ready market for our products with a population of almost about 200 million people. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area will permit us sell our products. Number 3, we are going to produce what we determine the price, not what others determine the price. We will cut down cocoa trees and plant cassava. Cassava is what we consume. Cassava is what we process. Cassava is what we determine the price. As a matter of fact, tell me how many Africans consume cocoa products as opposed to cassava products. How many years does cocoa take to grow? 4 or 5 years. I must have done at least 6 to 7 tons of cassava cultivation. Gari is a product that does not have any advertisement, and the price only appreciates. Cocoa rises and falls. Gari does not rise and fall. It's only increasing. Cassava is white gold. There are 300 different products out of cassava. Ethanol comes from cassava. Starch comes from cassava. So many things come from cassava. If you look at it critically, Africa, who is producing cocoa, is at the bottom rung of the ladder when it comes to the value chain. And the poorest people in the value chain are primary producers. Why should you be on a value chain where you are on the poorest position? Those who cultivate cocoa earn nothing in cocoa because they are at the poorest position on the value chain. Production is more successful at the end of the chain, not the beginning. Because you will cultivate cocoa, you don't eat what he that processes cocoa eats. Unfortunately, the man who produces cocoa is the one that labors the most. There is no cocoa farm in Switzerland. But Switzerland has the best chocolates in the world. We buy it more expensive. Why will you engage in a line of business where you are at the bottom rung of the ladder? Corruption in Cameroon is the result of analog system of operation. If we set up a digitized system where you will no longer pay toll gates in the hand of somebody, you will not pay parking lot. When money passes in the hands of these hoodlums, they collect the money before it reaches its desired destination. If it was 5 million, it would drop to 3 million. Why not digitize a central system where if you are making passport, you pay online. ID card, you pay online. You are taking public transport, you pay online. You are taking through toll gate, you pay online. On a parking lot, that makes people not to have access to money in their hands. It will reduce corruption because when men see money, they will eat it. Brother, time is against us. I have so much.
Definitely. Definitely. We are looking at that. Time is really out of place today. We have to please just wrap it up with the political party. Where are you going to run under? Because that's a question we must answer before you go, and just final words. How would Cameroonians vote for you and all of that, please?
As of now, I'm standing as an independent candidate. There are 3 options on ground: independent candidates, or you run under the banner of a party, or you create a party. But for now, to be sincere, as a clergy, not because I'm vying for power, I will begin to use sweet talks to manipulate people. I'm still standing as an independent candidate, but with a structure on ground already.
Powerful. All right. Thank you so much, man of God. Wrap it up tonight with a final word and close us as we wrap up for today. Thank you so much for this time.
A final word to Cameroonians is that it is not wrong to attempt. It's not wrong to try. It's not wrong to be a solution to a problem in a country that is beating almost everybody. We want to let Cameroonians understand that we don't have a government that is made of evil spirits. They are humans like us. And the fear phobia that has engulfed the Cameroonian youth, they should break out of it. My coming up is also to encourage the youth that we can't live in fear till eternity. Somebody has to take the bull by the horn. At my age, making this step is to tell the user it is possible. That's why my slogan is, it is possible. It may be difficult, but it is possible. It is possible. That's my slogan. So let us all gather and see how we can push for a change in this nation. Because that's why I think that if at all we don't get up as youths and take up this responsibility, it's going to be very frustrating for the next generation. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, man of God. We appreciate you for your time tonight, and I'll let you go because you have some other things to catch up at this time. Thank you once again.
You're welcome.
All right. My. That was a moment indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And we just had an amazing time. You would do yourself good to watch this entire live stream as we wrap up from here today. It's just been an amazing time with Apostle Dr. Ambe Valentine, presidential candidate for the upcoming elections that will be taking place in the nation of Cameroon. So please, you've heard it all from him, and he has really given us so much tonight. All we left with right now is to go out there and rally the support and let a kingdom man be at the top, and we all will rejoice, because when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in place, the people run in hiding. Thank you. It's Empowerment Hour every Monday, and we are glad you were here. Thank you, and see you next Monday for another edition of Empowerment Hour. Goodbye.